Ladies and gentlemen, the White House put me on a list for talking about Trump's health. And on the same day, Donald Trump laid back at the Oval Office desk during a live on camera event. He's almost laying down sleeping. Look at this. And now we know why the White House doesn't want me talking about Donald Trump's health. This is Trump listening to his EPA administrator, Lee Zeldin. They almost should bring a cot in for him. Look at this.
Of warmth, of a job, an economy, a community, a family. And for too long, you saw Democrats who were telling these coal miners that they should just learn a code.
Now listen, Lee Zeldin is boring. I understand that. But Trump's falling asleep 2 or 3 times a week on camera. And this time he's almost horizontal. He used to talk to us about how Joe Biden and Barack Obama would disgrace the Oval Office. Obama once put his feet up on the desk and Biden didn't know what was happening and it was a disgrace to the Oval Office. Trump's almost laying down asleep. He's almost entering REM in the Oval Office. Isn't that disrespectful? This was an insane event. Donald Trump pulling out one of these stories of a guy who called him sir, and it was a big, strong guy. You might think, David, that's a satire of what we say about Trump talking, but Trump doesn't really talk that way. Trump talked about a big, strong guy who called him sir.
Quarterback Jackson is the quarterback for the Giants. He's a big, strong guy. And I said, how do you think you do in women's sports, Jackson? He said, pretty good, sir. He didn't know I was joking.
Big, strong guy said, pretty good, sir.
He was not worried, so let me put it that way. He would have been the greatest athlete in the history of women's sports. You got to see the size of this guy. Like a male model, and he's going to be a great quarterback.
Folks, Trump could barely be bothered to wake up during this event. And he wakes up and he goes, a big, strong guy called me sir. And he looked like a male model. People are struggling to pay for groceries. People are struggling to pay for gas. People are trying to figure out, how will college ever be affordable for my kids given what's going on with college costs? And this is what Donald Trump is doing. Now, at a certain point, the topic did turn to Iran. And Donald Trump, I don't know that this is a Freudian slip so much as it is Trump doesn't really understand the English language. But Trump says something kind of odd about winning. Take a listen to this.
So I think we're doing very well, but we're going to see if we're going to win one way or the other. We're going to win on paper or we're going to win military. One way or the other. It's going to be militarily or on paper.
You know, winning on paper, winning on paper arguably means you didn't really win. Like someone goes, listen, on paper, they're the best team, but they lost everything. I don't think Trump knows what he's talking about. Winning on paper wouldn't be a victory, arguably. Trump could go, listen, on paper, we bombed them and we killed the Ayatollah and we did X, Y, Z. So we won. In reality, you didn't win, though. You won on paper. And instead of paper, it's really on Truth Social. You won on Truth Social, but you didn't win in reality. More importantly, though, Trump keeps talking about this as a future event. We're either going to win this way or we're going to win that way. But you've already declared victory 8 times. You said we've basically got a deal 8 times. We are in almost week 15. We were in week 14. We're almost in week 15 of a 3-week war. And we are going to win, Trump says, one way or the other. First, really quick, I want to tell you about one of our sponsors. One thing that drives me nuts about political media is how 2 outlets can cover the same story and make it feel like 2 different events took place, not because any of the facts have changed, but because the emphasis of the stories is different. This is why I use Ground News, because Ground News pulls together reporting from across the political spectrum, and you can compare the headlines side by side and see how different outlets are framing the exact same issue. You can look at the bias distribution. You can look at factuality ratings. You can see who owns the outlets behind the reporting, which makes it easier to separate the substance from the spin. For example, Trump's EPA recently decided to remove limits on those forever chemicals in drinking water. Ground News shows how outlets like PBS and Raw Story are getting it right, and right-wing outlets put this anti-Biden spin on it, or they just stay very vague to avoid implicating Donald Trump. Ground News also has a blind spot feed. This is for stories that are underreported by one side, and you can also get a personalized feed based on your interests. Go to ground.news/Pakman or scan my QR code to get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan. The link is in the description. Now back to the video. Trump wants a new area outside the Lincoln Memorial called the Trump Promenade. And I love how Trump goes, that's what they want to call it. Who is the they that he's talking about?
The Lincoln Memorial, the front was supposed to be the back was supposed to be the front. It never got built because they built two roadways behind it after it was built, and it shut off the gateway to the water. That was really going to be the main entry, and we're going to be doing that. It's called the Promenade. It'll be the Promenade. They want to call it the Trump Promenade, but I don't know if I want to do that.
They want to call it the Trump Promenade. By they, Trump must mean people he convinced to say this and people very interested in sucking up to Trump, I guess. And then in a final bizarre moment during which Trump was able to stay awake, he says that, you know, what happened to Joe Biden during that infamous June 27th, 2024 debate could have happened to Trump. And all of a sudden, I think that something's going on here. As the focus has increasingly grown with regard to concerns about Donald Trump's health, Trump seems to kind of defend Joe Biden's acuity and goes, you know, when I had him in the Oval Office, he seemed completely and totally fine. Something happened during the debate and maybe the debate alone. I think this is Trump realizing, I got to tread lightly here because I'm not doing so well as far as cognitive goes.
Joe Biden is out promoting a new book this week. When you met with Joe Biden, President Joe Biden, right here in the Oval Office on November the 13th of 2024, could you detect any cognitive decline in President Biden at that time?
No, not really. He was the same guy I've been watching for a long time. I mean, you could go back 40 years. I watched him 40 years ago, 30 years ago. He's never the sharpest guy. You do know that, right? It wasn't like he was sharp as a tack. But no, it was the same guy. They actually invited me here before the election, which was strange. You know, we went here before, but then I met also, as you know, we did the ritual. And I mean, he was fine as far as I was concerned. I don't know.
This is fascinating because that's a 2024 meeting. Trump is now saying, think of it. Trump is saying that in 2024, after Trump spent 5 years talking about Joe Biden's decline and lack of cognitive acuity, Trump goes, we met in November of 24 and he was fine. What? And then in the year and a half since, he's continued to go after Biden but he was fine in November of 24. Wow.
Something happened to him during the debate. It could have been me. You know, I thought I had a very good debate. Nobody ever says that. They say that Biden did badly. What about me? Did I do well? You know, there's a
Everything's about Trump.
reason he did badly. So the question is, did he do badly because he choked or because he didn't have it? But he didn't have a good, I would say this, he did not have a good night.
Donald Trump is now acknowledging that after he spent years attacking Biden's cognitive acuity, and before he continued spending years attacking Biden's cognitive acuity, he met with Biden, and Biden was completely fine in the Oval Office. Think about that. So that's a big story, but it's also a big story that Donald Trump does seem now to be taking a softer approach on Biden's cognition because of all of the attention that is increasingly on Trump's cognitive decline. What do you make of it? Let me know in a comment. Let me know in an email. info@davidpakman.com.